WWE is just such a gigantic, huge conglomerate at this point. Like the idea of fearing anyone, like it's truly competitive, to me would be, it's just being a little bit unrealistic for everyone who works at WWE. Like, everybody has so many friends at AEW that it just would be crazy to kind of root for their demise. My guess is we'll end up getting solo Roman at that point. What's the point of Survivor Series War Games if we're not going to get some sort of massive Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0? The biggest pop we could get is if the original Bloodline comes together and the fourth member is Tantalizing. I know the Rhea Ripley story ends, with the Hall of Fame induction. We don't even know what Bianca's capable of if she were to be. I don't like that John Cena never had a heel run. Like I don't think it's great. I think the sleeper story that we need is Carmelo Hayes and John Cena.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your boy, Tantalizing Tony, and
the producer, Kira.
The Tantalizing Tag Team Wrestling Podcast. We're here, guys, and we have the coup of the century. Now, guys, we've interviewed wrestlers, independent, a few guys, my guy, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Alpha Jr., of course, Jacob Fatu, but we've never got a real broadcaster here. And we're going to pick his brain because, Kira and I are trying to get to that next level. And this is the man we got to talk to. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, you know him from Cheap Heat, you know him from ESPN, The Michael K Show, Hot 97. He's everywhere. The one, the only, Pete Rosenberg.
Whoa.
Tony, yes. Kira, how are you guys?
We're doing good.
We're doing pretty good now that you're here.
Oh, stop. Happy to be here, guys. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So, look, real quick to catch everybody up. I see Pete Rosenberg everywhere. He probably doesn't remember me because he's so busy, but we met backstage last year at Detroit at SummerSlam. My little guy did a video with Ricochet, and I accidentally called you Sam Roberts because I saw you from the back. You were like, "I'm Pete." I said, "Oh my God, Pete! I knew it was you," and I was so like, "Oh my God!"
Sam intentionally stole my gimmick. That's why the whole baldy. The baldy, the beard thing. Sam knew that this would happen. So that was exactly what was supposed to happen. So I don't blame you. I blame Sam Roberts.
Sam Roberts is a thief. I have interviewed him as
That's
well.
Right.
But it's true, though. You did have the bald thing first. Sam Roberts used to have the big fro back in the day.
Exactly. He had a totally different gimmick.
The whole gimmick was different. And he stole it. You know what it was, man? He thought the bald guys are sexier. We got to stick together, man. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
And that's why I had to almost intentionally go blind so I could add glasses to my gimmick. Because otherwise, and now I'm stealing your gimmick. So here we are.
So I only wore this because I wanted to look more studious when you were on. So let's get into it. And thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate this.
No worries.
So this is a question I've been dying to ask you because you're everywhere. So you're on Hot 97, you do Cheap Heat, you do so many different podcasts, you're everywhere, and you do the WWE panels. You're like on the panels for everything, not to mention you did the panel at Fanatics Fest. Do you have a twin?
I do not have a twin. I do stay pretty busy. But a lot of it is a little easier than it seems, just in that, like, my New York jobs are all in New York. The WWE work that I do is only for PLEs for the most part. I do PLEs and stuff in New York. Otherwise, I'm not traveling. So I really have sort of the best gig in that way, because I still get to go do this really cool stuff. But like week to week, I don't have to be traveling like a lot of my broadcast partners at WWE who are every week Jackie has to be somewhere every week. Byron has to be every week. I have a really, in that sense, my schedule is sort of easier. And yeah, the radio schedule is tough. We'll see how long I'll survive doing 2 full shows. At some point that might have to change, but no, as of now, there is no Rosenberg clone even if Sam Roberts is physically close.
Yeah, that's Sam Roberts. So talking about WWE, and today we're taping this on the day of AEW All In. Can I ask you an AEW question? Is that cool?
Of course, yeah.
So being that you do the PLEs for WWE, I don't want to say it's a conflict of interest because it's not, but do you get any kind of heat, and not cheap heat, but you get any kind of heat because you're on top of the wrestling industry? You know, AEW, the only basic wrestling competitor. Of course, you got MLW, you got the independents, you got, the other ones out there, TNA. But do you catch any heat from anybody?
No, I never have. I mean, listen, I'll be totally transparent. Like, I don't. I work for WWE. I love that work, and I'm super respectful, and I want WWE to win at all times. So I may not go around doing a lot of AEW interviews. I've done very few. I just feel like it is a little conflicty, and so for me, it feels like a little weird. Obviously, I have a lot of friendships there, so I've had MJF has randomly popped up on the phone on our show and just said hello. I won't but I've never done a formal sit down with him, and he's a close friend. And I've never done that form, real sit down, which of course one day would be really appealing to do. But I do talk about it quite a bit. All In certainly took up a lot of bandwidth for us this week, and probably will next week as well. And two things. One, WWE is just such a gigantic, huge conglomerate at this point. The idea of fearing anyone, it's truly competitive, to me it's just being a little bit unrealistic. I don't think anyone really gets upset because WWE numbers wise is just so dominant. Now I still think it can get viewed competitively in terms of people going to work there and not wanting to lose talent to go there and things of that nature. Yes, in that sense, there's a real competition. But I think in terms of week to week, I don't know that anyone feels that strongly about that. And, I know certainly for talent there, for everyone who works at WWE, everybody has so many friends at AEW that it's just would be crazy to kind of root for their demise. I mean,
when there's so many former stars there, talk about Moxley, talk about a lot of guys like Miro, Samoa Joe. So I'm pretty sure they still got those relationships. Renee Paquette,
Danielson. Yeah. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, Cody even said it when we had Cody on the podcast after WrestleMania. He said he'll always root for AEW to do well and to be around. Jade Cargill said in our panel, "I'm proud of where I came from." I don't think anyone's expected to have hatred or vitriol. I think that's a thing that fans do. And, I'm not even saying this to be that guy who's oh, I don't understand tribalism. Can't we all just get along? I'm not even trying to be that guy at all. I just personally don't get it. You know what I mean? As someone who cashes a paycheck from WWE, I don't get the tribalism. How do you not want to see dope stuff? If it's dope, listen, I love being critical of AEW. It can be really fun. But guess what? I'm super critical of WWE also. So I just don't understand that. My co-host SGG, Stat Guy Greg, he leans a little bit more. I wouldn't call him full on into tribalism. He definitely gives flowers to AEW stuff, but he's also definitely does not watch the product avidly. And I'm always of the mindset, I'm just if you love wrestling and there's going to be a great match on a show, and listen, AEW is different than TNA or ROH in terms of how easy it is to view it, right? It's so easy to find that I would just think you want to throw it on. So I don't get down with the tribalism. I want everyone to have an opportunity for a job. I mean, listen, if WWE one day decides they're done with the Peter Rosenberg act, I'll certainly be a lot more grateful that there's another company that you could go to cash a check and wrestling. So
true story.
Who would root against that?
True. Yeah, and like Sam Roberts says, everything matters and watch the product, And if you don't watch the product, how do you even make comparisons? You can't crap on something that you don't watch.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do a little hot tag right now.
Oh, we tagging?
Hot tag, real quick.
There is.
Just real quick. I wanted to go back to the busy question because you have a lot of different shows. You got like hip hop, you got sports, you got wrestling. How did you find out that you were like passionate enough about all these things that you were like making us like your living, like talking about this stuff as your living?
I honestly, I don't think that I gave myself a lot of other options. I sort of set out from the beginning, when I got to college, just like I'm going to pursue radio. I thought at first it would be sports. Then I realized that sports wasn't the vibe for me. The people that were doing sports at Maryland, where I went to school, like I liked them, but it just wasn't my scene. And I found that the college radio station where the music people were, that felt like my tribe. Like the DJs felt more like my tribe than the sports people. And I was right. Like to this day, like as much as I now have relationships with plenty of sportscasters and really great ones, I was right that I think my tribe was more probably, at least at that stage, certainly, but even probably now was DJs. And so I pursued the music one, and that became my thing. And then around 05, I rediscovered my passion for wrestling and very quickly was like, oh, I have to be a part of this. Because I was at a stage then where like I just wanted to be a part of everything that I was passionate about. And so I started pursuing that. And everything was very gradual, you know, like the path for me getting onto Hot 97 essentially started as a DJ in high school and then doing college radio starting in 1997. I didn't get my first look at Hot 97 until 2007, where I started doing my late night show. And I started doing the wrestling interview kind of stuff in 05, 06. I didn't do my first WWE pre-show. I think it was called pre-show then, or kickoff show, whatever we called it at that time.
It was a pre-show.
It wasn't until 2016. So late 2016. Almost 2017. Sports, I was into sports my entire life. Didn't get my first crack at doing sports talk radio until late 2015, early 2016, something like that. So everything had a lot of work and intentionality sort of behind it. So when I got to the place that I would get, I was ready to do it, you know, and who knows? You know, I've talked about a lot of other things. I've spent a lot of time talking politics and doing lots of interviews and with politicians. Who knows? Maybe I won't get my first look at doing anything like that till I'm 50 years old. I don't know, but like, I struggle to not be the old man on the lawn who kind of hates on how things are today.
Mm-hmm.
But these days, you have a lot of people talking about things that they just don't know anything about, and you know, your algorithm can get filled with it. Like literally, like you could take, for example, this is a heavy issue. We won't go into the issue itself, but you could take literally Israel, Gaza, right? Mm-hmm. And when my TikTok algorithm starts getting stuff about that on both sides, it is literally videos from people who do not know the subject on either side.
Right.
And like sometimes they're literally 18 years old. And I'm like, this video is 3 million views. It's a high school kid talking about something that's been going on for like 100 years. Like, right. I don't need a 17-year-old on this, but this is where we live right now. And then, you know, you see like a lot of people are able to transition and do more stuff. And a lot of people just make money in social media and that's cool. For me, I always had a desire to do it on a big professional scale. And even though I'm sort of jealous of the creators of today, that like when I was doing radio shows, I did it in my room on cassette for nobody. The idea that you could be that same person now and find listeners is like, wow, that would have been amazing. I never would have left my house. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I was able to get in a time where I could pursue the path to sort of old media, because I like old media. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm 56, by the way, so I like old media too. And
you're a very young and spry looking 56.
Well, you know, I use Tua, The Rock's products, so I look very young.
That's what it is? Okay, it's got to be that.
what's it called? Papa Tui, right?
Papa Tui.
Papa Tui, right?
Papa Tui, yeah.
I call it two. I call it two. It's an inside joke. But you said the algorithm, and I wanted to ask you about this because you tell me, and you would know more than me. Have you ever heard of a father-daughter wrestling podcast on the planet? Have you ever heard of one before?
No.
So here's my thing. Kira and I are probably the only father-daughter, not to mention African-American, wrestling podcast on earth, as what I see right now. After this, and people see this because of you, everybody's going to want to do it. But trust me, we're the trailblazers. And you said the algorithm. What is your advice to someone like us who only has a little under 13,000 subscribers on YouTube? How do you get into the algorithm? I know it's consistency. Everybody says that. Be consistent, know your product. But what advice, what trick do you have? Not a trick, but what could you tell us?
Bro, this is the one question that I don't think I can answer for you, because I'll tell you right now, if I was good at that, I think my social media would probably have grown a lot more than it has. Now, I understand from your vantage point, you look at my social media and it's like, wow. From my vantage point, knowing where it's been for a very long time, I'm not great at it. Like my channels have all grown pretty slowly. I'm not able to be as consistent. I will tell you, consistency is definitely a thing. Like the people I see growing are putting up videos every day. Like they are putting up videos every single day. The videos have a consistent cover and look. Obviously you try to luck out and score some sort of
viral video.
Yeah, that where it just goes. But I don't have a great, man. I put up a lot of videos on all of my channels, and the ones that go viral are so arbitrary, man. Like it's just stuff that I think is going to go, doesn't go. I'll say this. I know mistakes I've made. Mistakes I've made are my channel, my main Rosenberg radio channel is too diverse interest-wise. It's hard to grow because if you follow me for hip hop and then you start seeing all these wrestling videos, you unfollow.
Oh, okay.
If you're a wrestling fan and you see me post an interview clip with rappers, which I do, you're unfollowing. So I do think the best way to grow is probably to super serve whatever that audience is. Like you guys aren't doing a show on politics. You are doing a wrestling show.
That's what we do.
So yeah, so I would just make sure you're super serving that. And then clean it up and make it look, the best you possibly can. I think that helps too. I think like clarity, like videos tend to go viral that look really good. Like I was just talking about like those high school kids who seem to go viral talking about these serious issues. I feel like a lot of them have a great camera and a great look, and their stuff is cut well, and that's part of it. So yeah, but honestly, I'm not great at knowing the tricks. I need someone to come along and tell me the tricks because listen, you never know when you're going to need your business to be personal. Like listen,
right.
Over the last many years, I've been really fortunate to be in a lot of different places. Who knows how long that lasts, right? Who knows how long you want it to last? Maybe one day I'm like, I'm sick of getting up to do everybody else's job. I want to do this stuff myself. And knowing how to do that is imperative. And I wouldn't say I'm a master at that. So let me know what you find out.
I will. I think that's the one freedom that Kira and I have is that we do this. It's just her and I. It's a lot of work. She's a college student. I have a job. I'm a bus driver. But the beauty of it is that we get to do it together. We get to travel. We don't get the seats you get, of course. We sit all the way in the top, but we get the cheapest seat we can get. And hopefully we go to guest services. We move down, try to get something closer because we like to go to we're WWE heads. Don't get me wrong. We watch AEW, but I'm old school. I'm from New York. I used to go to the Garden. I was at the first Raw in Manhattan Center.
Wow.
I go back, man. I go back to when Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas beat the Samoans for the tag team championship. I was at that match. So I go way back. And I know this is your interview, but I want to
know please. I'm interested.
Kira and I, she's 20, I'm 56, and the difference in what she sees in wrestling and what I see are two different things. Because the Attitude Era was incredible, but right now she loves wrestling. And what I wanted to ask you to segue into this is about, since AEW is today, I want to ask you real quick about the women's division, since she's a young lady in AEW. What do you think about the women's division, especially Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks?
I think that it's certainly upgraded since Sasha showed up for sure. Mercedes being in AEW was a major get for them. That their division needed it. Now, who knew? I don't know that any of us knew around the time that the rumbling started about where will Mercedes Moné go. I don't know that any of us knew how big Timeless Tony Storm would become and like that would really work out. But now, when I look around, I see a division that has multiple people that you can really be interested in. Like even just like looking around between today. I mean, you have multiple matches now. You have the Tony Storm and Mariah May thing, which is a lot of fun.
Huge.
And really cool stuff. And then you have the Mercedes Britt thing, which also now involves Camille, who looks like she's a star. So, like, just on this one card, and that's not it. And then there's a Willow Nightingale match. They do a really good job incorporating women and making sure that, like, it's not an afterthought. I really think they do a fantastic job with that. The one thing they didn't seem to do a fantastic job, though, for me, was just like a lot of people having good matches in the women's division. I think their women's division was behind in terms of match quality. I don't know if that was about talent or about producers. I don't know. I don't have the ins and outs. I just know what it felt like to watch sometimes. I'd be like, this quality doesn't feel like it would hold up in Connecticut to me. Now I'm seeing that go a little bit. It's going the right direction, man. Like I really am starting to like the direction of the women's division.
Okay, Kira.
I just wanted to get to like the meat and bones of wrestling right now. I wanted to ask you about the two biggest storylines, in my opinion, two biggest storylines in WWE right now: the Judgment Day on Raw and the Bloodline on SmackDown. I want to look at the next big PLE, which is Survivor Series. Can we do a little fantasy booking for, let's start with the Bloodline, a little fantasy booking for the Bloodline Survivor Series, War Games. What do you see in the future?
Well, I'll say this. Number one, for whatever reason, I really wouldn't look past Bad Blood because it just feels like they're going to make that kind of big. Like I feel like the Atlanta part of it,
huge.
And yeah, like Cody was part of the reveal, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Bad Blood. My guess is we'll end up getting Solo Roman at Bad Blood. So like that's now there's a different
not Jacob for two, Roman.
See, this is what we're arguing about. Is what's the more money match?
Yeah.
What's the one you want to
more money
build
match
for?
to you? What's it to you? Because to me, I'm a Jacob Fatu guy. I know from Independence. I know from Battlefield Pro Wrestling. I know Jacob Fatu, and I love Solo, but I think Jacob Fatu has overshadowed Bloodline 2.0.
Well, a lot of people feel that way. So, like, you could argue, like, on paper, obviously, it should have all been to build to Roman Solo, and maybe it will be, but I don't know. There is a part of it now. We've seen Solo catch a couple L's. Part of me thinks Solo loses first, and the real monster out there is Jacob. That part of me thinks that. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But I'll just say this. If you're not going to get us something major with the Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games, what are we doing?
Right.
What's the point of Survivor Series War Games if we're not going to get some sort of massive Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0? Like,
we get the final boss?
My guess is you don't get the final boss, but here's my thought on that. I don't think you need the final boss.
Wow.
I believe that the bigger pop for the audience would be, we obviously know who 2.0 is. They all stand in the ring together, those four. The biggest pop we could get is if the original Bloodline comes together and the fourth member is Sami Zayn.
Yes.
To me, that is even more money than The Rock. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just think there's more emotional investment in the Sami Zayn Bloodline relationship. And I think seeing them on the same team, a moment between Roman and Sami where Roman like truly hugs him and welcomes him, that would be Yo, all due respect, The Rock.
I'm right now. I'm getting excited. I'm like, wow. I'm getting
I know.
the goosebumps.
I know. That, to me, all due respect to the final boss, his moment will come at WrestleMania, I'm sure. But to me, if we get a Bloodline War Games match, it's that moment when they announce their fourth member and Sammy's music hits and he comes out. To me, that's all we need. And that's my fantasy booking for Survivor Series 2024.
Kira wanted to know about, because her girls, I know you got to go, but Rhea Ripley is her girl. Like you have no idea. Rhea saw her at Fanatics Fest. Hey, I know you, girl. She loves Rhea. How do you think this whole Judgment Day thing's going? The Terror Twins, they have a TT. They wear the TT on their face for Terror Twins. It's really for Tantalizing Tony. It's for the
I know there'd been some debate about what the real answer was. I'm glad we cleared that up here today. Listen, I love everything about Rhea. She's just special. It's going to be really interesting to see where this thing goes. You have to imagine that the Terror Twins beat the hell out of Liv and Dom in Berlin.
Yes.
But I don't know. There's a lot of juice in Liv and Dom too, because Liv is such a good fit.
Her best work ever. Her best work ever. Well, she has grasped onto this new persona. I love it.
No, me too. I agree completely. I told her the same thing. This is it. This is it. Like, normally wrestlers are just a turned up version of themselves. That's not the case with Liv. This is not a version of herself that I'd ever seen before, but she is so good at it. I would say in a lot of ways, she's actually the better fit to be like this partner for Dom. Like, they, as a romantic couple, like, they go in this way that is a little more believable for whatever reason.
Yes.
And now it'll be interesting to see what they do. It's kind of a pivotal time, because where do you go with Rhea? Separating her fully from the Judgment Day. Her and Damian keep rolling together. And for Damian, it's a critical time. He had a title reign that people have mixed feelings about. I thought he did a great job given the circumstance, but things didn't all go the way they would have hoped. So it's a fascinating time for both of them. And I'm curious to see what they do at Berlin. Like, is it a straightforward, they beat them down? I don't know. They've kind of already been beating them down. Maybe they go somewhere else in Germany. So I don't know, but I know the Rhea Ripley story ends, with the Hall of Fame induction. She's just amazing. I mean, she's.
Ask the question you want to ask here, because I know you want to ask it.
We might be out of touch here.
Is she?
Listen, is Rhea Ripley? I know some people are saying it might be a little too early, but is Rhea Ripley the best top women's wrestler in WWE
of all time?
Of all time. It would be too early to say of all time. She, if God forbid, she decided she didn't want to wrestle anymore after tomorrow. No, her body of work would not be enough to be that. So, I think you have to have, her body of work doesn't surpass Charlotte. Her body of work doesn't surpass Bayley.
Trish Stratus.
Becky. Sorry. Or Trish. Although I don't know, because those girls in that era didn't get an opportunity to do that many matches. So, in some ways, it may surpass a lot of people previously. God bless Chyna, who was obviously such an icon. It's hard to sort of skip over the person who's sort of the prototype for this. But she's on the path, man. Her and Charlotte still have a lot more to do. Charlotte's been gone, so it's easy to, sort of forget how incredible Charlotte is. Bianca and Rhea still have a lot to do. And here's the thing, you guys were at Fanatics Fest.
Yes, sir.
Bianca talked about sort of her frustrations with being a good guy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know what Bianca's capable of if she were to be a heel.
In NXT, she was a heel, sort of a pseudo heel. And I tell Kira this all the time. I want her to turn. I want Montez to knock Angelo Dawkins out, turn heel. I think Montez Ford is the future if you give him a singles push. That's just me personally.
Them as heels would be fascinating. And I really think the time is now that you could do it.
Yes.
There are other girls that people are rooting for It's not like Bianca needs to have the entire division on her back. In fact, obviously you feel that way because you put her in a tag team. So
Right.
she's in a tag team anyway. She's not getting utilized as the number one babyface in the women's division. So why not think about giving her a try? Like I know everyone assumes the heel if her and Jade break up will be Jade. What if it's
No
not?
way. It's Bianca. It's definitely Bianca because I don't think Jade could pull it off. God respect her, love Jade to death, but she doesn't have. Look, she looks great. She's working hard, but Bianca just has that it factor. That if she turned heel, first
And
of all,
she has the reason. She has the
Yes.
rationale. Like you showed up and you took my light. I'm done with it.
I gotta share the spotlight with you.
It's-
I think if you cut Bianca's hair, I think you take the braid off, you do everything. You change your whole
Oh no,
persona.
we talked about this last week on Cheap Heat. You take the braid off.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like an electric moment. Like it's
Yes.
a big deal. Like, you know, so and she deserves it, man. Like I really don't. I don't like that John Cena never had a heel run. Like I don't think it's great. Like I don't think his career's better because of it. I think his career's worse because of it. And I obviously his career's Hall of Fame, iconic, all those things. But I always used to ask him about it.
He did that. You did the interview. He did the heel turn.
Heel
turn. So technically, you turned him heel.
Exactly. It wasn't enough for me, and I don't want Bianca to have that same thing. Like to have to be Bianca doesn't have to be Jane Cena. Bianca can have another layer, and I think she does. So that's what I hope we get there.
All right. Last question. You know, you got to go. You said John Cena. The John Cena retirement tour is coming. So many potential matches. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. Is there somebody that you think he'd match well with that people aren't looking at? And if you got a fancy book, what would be his last match? And does he go over or does he go out old school on his back?
Oh, man. Good questions there. Is there anyone out there? I think in the end he'll go out on his back probably. I hope he gets some wins though, because I don't think that's meaningful unless you win some matches. So right. I either hope he starts winning some matches and then loses, or he wins at the end. I never thought I'd say the day. I never thought I'd see the day that I would say I'm sick of John Cena losing. But boy, am I sick of John Cena losing.
Yeah.
No, I think the sleeper story that we need is Carmelo Hayes and John Cena.
Wow.
That's the one.
What a different contrast of the time. But you know, if you think about it, if Carmelo was part of Ruthless Aggression, I could see it.
Listen, they're both Boston guys. Mm-hmm. You know, Carmelo grew up watching John Cena. He's got sort of that swagger and that cool thing. Like I think it's not what people expect, but I think that could be awesome. And I'm not talking about like one call out and then a match. I'd love to see them tell a story.
Nice. Mr. Rosenberg, all we can say is thank you so much. We appreciate this. This is big for us. This is our biggest get ever. And Ricky Steamboat's my guy. Interviewed him. But Ricky, if you watch, I'm sorry. Pete Rosenberg beat you. I'm sorry about that.
Ricky, I disagree. I fully disagree. But it was a pleasure, man. I enjoyed it. It was a great warm up to now go watch some matches. So
where can everybody find you at?
Man, just type in my name. You can find me everywhere. The Cheap Heat Podcast. If you're watching the Tantalizing Tag Team podcast, and you're into this kind of stuff, Cheap Heat is my wrestling podcast that I do every week with Dip and Stat Guy Greg. So go find that wherever you find podcasts. And otherwise, I'm Rosenberg Radio on social media, and you can see some of what I do on there.
Mr. Rosenberg, Pete, thank you so much. If you ever need a co-host, we're available. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not mad at what you guys are doing. You're doing a great job, man. And I appreciated the gusto to grab me when you did. So keep up the hustle, man.
We appreciate that. Everybody, this is Pete Rosenberg. This is Kira. I'm Tantalizing Tony. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, do we all do best? Tell them, Kira.
Stay tantalizing.
What she said.